Well, I'm so glad everybody's here tonight. Pastor Jerry's still away, and he got some time away and asked me to do this, and I said, sure. So this will be the third week, right in the middle of our series that we've been teaching on Elijah from Walk Through the Bible. And so as we're going to teach through Walk Through the Bible, I'm going to tell you a little bit of something about Walk Through the Bible each week that I'm here. Walk Through the Bible started in 1973. I graduated from high school in 1974. So little did I realize when I was about to become a senior that this guy was in Dallas, Texas, which is my hometown where we grew up, and he was going to Dallas Theological Seminary getting a doctor's degree in the Bible. His name was Bruce Wilkinson, and he had to go to a class with a guy named Howard Hendricks and Gene Getz to do a dissertation and a big project they had to work on. And so Bruce said, I'd like to figure out a way that people can understand how the whole Bible fits and works together with some creative hand signs that I want to do and some visuals I want to do and some different methods of teaching that I want to try. And that's kind of my goal. And they said, well, go do it. Let's get this going and see how it goes. So he put it all together and he presented it to his whole class. And there were 150 hand signs he had come up with to go all the way through the Old Testament. 150 hand signs. He did all that with those people, and they were kind of blown away with what they were kind of learning. And so eventually they turned that thing down into 150 to 77 because that was way too much overkill for most average people to memorize and learn in a small day of teaching this stuff called Walk Through the Old Testament. Well, anyway, he started out doing this, and some of the people in the class said, I'd like to learn to do this too. And so they all kind of started doing it in the Dallas area, and 6 of the people went with him out to Portland, Oregon, where he was going to be a Bible teacher there. And they started doing it in various churches, and then they had a big meeting, and they all quit their jobs, and they said, let's just join up and see if we can make something like this go and call it Walk Through the Bible. And that was 50 years ago today. And last year, we reached over 7.4 million people with the truth of the gospel, materials we put out, all the teaching, all the courses we do. We do a lot of courses. I do about 18 of their various courses that they have. And this is just one of them, the Bible studies like you're here taking tonight. But it's just been an amazing joy for me to be associated with these people. And I'm just so glad that most organizations, Christian organizations, don't last 50 years. And 50 years is a long time. This October will be their 50th year, and I will be at the donor conference. I'm the MC for their donor conference. And I go there every year because the people raise some money because we translate our material into 160 different languages. And we just give the stuff away to all these people in these countries. We don't charge them anything to come through what you learn. And so that's kind of how it works, and people give money. So we have a donor conference every year. People give between $1.4 and $2 million a year to take care of the ministries all over the world. And so that's what will be happening in October, and I will be gone during that time for about 4 days of a long weekend in Atlanta. If any of you are interested, you might say, I'd like to go to something like that, learn more about it. Maybe I could be a part as a donor. Just let me know, and I can show you how it works. And you get a lot of stuff by going there, and it's a great family. When the first time I went, I just thought I was going as the MC working for Walk Through the Bible. But when I got there and looked at Becky at the end of the night, we said, hey, we have some money. Why can't we become donors of these people of who I've worked for all these years? Because I love this ministry. And my eyes were just open to how big it is all over the world. When Bruce first created it, it was just for churches in America. And that's all they did. And one day somebody had a good idea. Hey, why don't we translate this and start a different country and put this stuff out there? And so now the world is the big deal, and just locally it's not a big deal at all. America is the lowest deal of all the stuff we do because of the international leaders that we have. Usually 3 or 4 show up at every donor conference. This year, all 12 of them will be there. And that'll be fun to see all these international directors, because just being with them, Becky and I just think, we just almost feel like little bitty pipsqueaks in what we know compared to what these people do all over the world. And so it's always a challenge to me. And now we've been a donor for the ministry for the last probably 14 years of being a part of that. And so though I'm not an active instructor, I have stepped down this year from being an active instructor of the walkthrough seminar itself. I still am involved with the ministries, like doing stuff like this and some other courses we teach. And so that's how I'm still involved. Next week, I'll tell you how I got involved at Walkthrough, which is kind of a wild story, too. But I'm glad that you've come, and so far, how many of you, it's your first time to come that we've done this course? Let me see. It's your first night tonight. Anybody? A few of you here? Your first time? Okay, hey, thank you guys for coming. Hope that you enjoy it. If you'll see me at the end, I'll give you a copy of Pathway Magazine. It'll show you what we do at Walkthrough, help you learn a little bit more about it. So we'll go ahead and get started now, and I'm going to show you a couple of things. Let's review what we're talking about. So the first thing I'll show you is this, and this is the first thing we learned in lesson number 1, and we want to review this, and we want to read this out loud, okay? Remember when we said, I depend on you, I depend on you? Well, this is what that means. Say that with me out loud. God develops our faith by placing us in situations where we must totally depend on Him. That's where that song came in that Aaron wrote, I depend on you, I depend on you. We saw that. That's it. We processed that. Then the last week we learned this. Read this with me out loud. God develops our faith by allowing us to choose whether to follow Him or not. He makes it your choice. He doesn't force anybody into loving Him or following Him. But He wants you to make a choice. And then we said the choice you need to make is how often? Once a month? Once a year? Every day. Chuck Swindoll said this. He said, the problem with the Christian life, it's so daily. And I said, yeah, that is really the truth, isn't it? It's so daily. Every day it's a day where you have to do that one word there and choose. Today I'm going to walk with you. I'm going to live for you. I'm going to serve you. You can choose to do that, or you can choose not to do that. That's the choice He gives us the ability to make toward Him. And so that's what we've been talking about, and the two things we learned, and we'll have another thing today at the end of this. And so we started out talking about the preparation of Elijah becoming a prophet, what that was like for him to start out and be called by God, and all the things that he did to begin his ministry. And then we did the great confrontation talk last week at the prophets of Baal, going to stand in front of the prophets of Baal. 400 prophets of Baal, 450 prophets of Baal, 400 prophets of Asherah, and he had all these prophets cutting themselves and screaming for their God to show up, and nobody did, and God sent the fire, pow! And Elijah, they all knew that he was God. They had to make a choice that day on who is God. And so the series then is called Courageous Choosing Faith When You Want to Give Up. Because a lot of us want to quit. A lot of things we should never quit. Some things you should quit, obviously. But if there's a good thing you're doing, God doesn't want you to quit it. And so we'll talk about that just a little bit. So we've seen Elijah so far, and what we've seen him doing is really trying to confront this wicked king whose name is Ahab. Remember, all their prophets had been killed now, and so now they want to talk to this guy that had this fire fall, and so this guy was still a little bit not happy with Elijah and stuff, and so he looked kind of like that. Doesn't he look happy with Elijah there in that picture? That's King Ahab not looking so happy. And so when the power of God fell, no wonder he looks like that, because all his people were killed because of all this stuff happening here. When that fire fell, they were all killed, and so he wasn't real happy about this guy. Neither was Jezebel, his wife. That's another story for another lesson coming up real soon. But after coming down from Mount Carmel, then we see Elijah ending the long drought that had been going on for the 7 years, and finally it was over with what we call an abundance of rain. Finally the rain would fall, and it did on all of the land. Okay, now let's look at some scriptures. We got several to look at today in some ways I think will be helpful to you to see this story. So here we go. It says, now it happened in the meantime that the sky became black with clouds, wind, and there was a heavy rain. So Ahab rode away and went to Jezreel. Then the hand of the Lord came upon Elijah, and he girded up his loins, and he ran ahead of Ahab to the entrance of Jezreel. Now, this to me is an amazing thing, because here you have this guy with 3 horses pulling a chariot, and this guy, Elijah, running right along beside them. So when you see this has to be what I call supernatural running. How many of you are runners in here? You still run? Let me see your hands. Nobody. Okay. Well, nobody here runs much anymore. I barely walk, let alone run. So I don't run either. But the situation here is this supernatural running. It's like a marathon runner on steroids. Let me show you how far he ran. 29 miles. You talk about a marathon before there were marathons. He did one, and he beat the chariot. So he had to have some kind of supernatural way that God empowered those legs to run this race and take him down there. Now, when he got there, we see that he's physically and emotionally and spiritually exhausted. He might have thought, man, we'll have a national revival now. But that thought was gone. And so here's what happens, which changes everything about his mind. His mind had seen God do one of the most powerful things in all of human history, and now his mind is going to be turned backwards to go in opposite direction. And that just shows you how quick our minds can turn. You can be serving God faithfully today and fall off the cliff tomorrow if you're not being faithful and you're not quitting. And this is going to happen with Elijah. So it's kind of a sad thing that happens now, because here's what it says. And Ahab told Jezebel, and she's a sweet lady for sure, all that Elijah had done, also how he had executed all the prophets with the sword. And remember, they were working for her. It said, then Jezebel sent a message to Elijah saying, so, that's just how I think it was said, let the gods do to me and more also if I don't make your life as the life of one of them by tomorrow about this time. And when he saw that, he ran for his life. Why did he get so paralyzed at a woman making a speech to him when all her prophets got just gone, decimated in this amazing situation? And it's such a sad thing. Until now, that was a death contract placed on him. And so what happened to him is he got heartbroken. There's a picture of him on your questionnaire at your tables that'll remind you that here was the mighty prophet seeing God come down on Mount Carmel, and now that's how he's living. Here's what happens. He had unmet expectations, and this can happen so easily with us. Let me tell you something about expectations. You have expectations about everything all the time. You go in to eat in a restaurant, you expect it to be really good, and it's not. This is your expectation of going in that restaurant. People say, this is really great. You're going to like it. You get in and it's awful. Here's what happens. Watch. This is reality. This gap is called disappointment. There's only one of two things you got to do. You got to either lower expectations, or reality's got to be better than what you expected, and that's when things are wonderful. When you walk in the first time for a church, let's say people walk into Praise Cathedral for the first time. They have expectations. Maybe some people will be friendly here. And they walk in the door and everybody's talking in little groups with all their friends, and this person's just standing around like this, and, just kind of walking around and stuff like that. And, yeah, well, it's not real friendly. I guess I'll go sit down. They sit down by themselves, and people come up to them almost like, do you know you're sitting in our seat? That's where we sit every week. Oh, I'll move over for you. Then just come on in and have a seat here. And then the person sits there, and so the expectations, if they're too high, this is becoming disappointment real fast. You hope the pastor's good. You hope the music's good. Everything's got to line up to meet your expectations. My wife and I talk about this a good deal, about expectations in our relationship sometimes, and where we want to go, what we want to do. And sometimes we have to say, Becky, you got to lower those expectations of where we're going today. So the reality will be fairly close to this. Now, if it's better than that, that's wonderful. Well, the expectations you would think of Elijah, prophet of God, would be off the charts way here. But the reality was he was a mess right now, scared of Jezebel, disappointment, running wild in this guy's life. What is he thinking here? He arose and ran for his life? heartbroken. Oh, this can lead you into doubt, despair. He had gone from making really good decisions to bad decisions. Life is a matter of choices, not chances. And he made a bad decision here. He wasn't doing too hot here. Here's what it said he did. But he himself went a day's journey into the wilderness and came and sat down under a broom tree, and he prayed that he might die. Well, that's not thinking too highly of yourself here, is it? He said, "It's enough. Now, Lord, take my life. I'm no better than my fathers." Now, what does Elijah do? He isolates himself and continues alone on his journey. And now you see him in a downward spiral like this, going down, 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 with the thought of just ending it all, my life. And he's entering into something that we call depression. Depression. And here's what's true about depression. Depression can be mild. It can be medium. It can be earth-shattering. Or it can be a person takes their own life or commits some terrible sin and crime. But here's the truth. All of you have had some form of depression. The older you live in your life, maybe a lot more than once, twice, or 25 times. Somebody dies you don't want to see die. Something didn't go the way you thought it would. Somebody cheats you, steals from you, does something to one of your children, does something to harm you. And it's so easy to start taking your eyes off of God and thinking of quitting and getting into something that's called depression. We're going to see how he got depressed, and you'll see maybe some ways we can easily get depressed and how we can overcome that and not let that take control of our lives. And so that's what we're going to be looking at over the next little bit of time here. And so it's an important thing that we'll do. So I hope it'll be helpful to you, because often in my life, I'm sure this statement has, you said stuff like this: I can't make it. I can't do it. I can't see how what we're in can ever change. It's just the same old problem over and over and over again. God never says you would not have tough times and you would have struggles. But here's the good news. He said, I will, however, be with you in that struggle. I'll be with you as you're going down that spiral of depression. He says he will be with you. So you got to hold on, keep going, and not quit. But it's easy to give up. I love the story in the Bible. One of my favorite stories is that of the Hebrew men about to be thrown in the fiery furnace. When you hear that story as a kid, I was just amazed to hear this story. And so here's a picture of it, maybe what it might look like. Oh, I'll let you read that. Okay, here we go. Look at them. They're going to throw them here into the fiery furnace. And so these guys are knowing, and here's the beautiful thing they said, though. Now, here's a famous statement in the scripture that you can claim. This is a statement I want to have true about me in my life. And here's the statement of what it is. Listen carefully. Here's what they said. You know, O king, you can throw us into that fire, and God can deliver us from that fire. And I love this expression. But even if he doesn't, we're still going to trust him and not bow down before you or your image. So they said, if we die in there, we die. But if he delivers us miraculously, we'll have a story we'll tell our grandchildren one day of what happened. But we're not going to bow down no matter what you do to us. And so, boy, they went into the fire, and you would think they would just burn themselves up. But not so, because what happened was God actually did it, and there was a fourth man in the fire. And you know who that fourth man most likely was? It was Jesus in the Old Testament. Here's what I used to think about Jesus in the Bible. I was kind of taught in the Bible, there's the Old Testament, there's the New Testament, Gospels, and then there's the book of Acts and all the letters that are written to pastors and churches and stuff at the end. I used to think God the Father was in charge of all the Old Testament stuff. Jesus comes along in the Gospels, yay. And then the Holy Spirit jumps into the book of Acts, and you talk about him now, powering people to see things happen in their own. And so that's how I kind of thought the Bible was put together, until one day it dawned on me. Jesus is all over the Old Testament, 25 times specifically, that there was an appearance of Jesus. And often he was called by various names and different names. Now, if you signed up to be in one of our small groups, what the church is doing is starting a small group ministry in the fall and the spring of next year to run for about 6 weeks to 12 weeks in the fall and one in the spring. And this year they're going to do a course and walk through the Bible called Jesus in the Old Testament. And you're going to learn about all these appearances that Jesus made in the Old Testament. The Bible says in the New Testament that the whole world was created by Jesus. Everything you see was created by him. He was active in the creation of the world. And that's one of the first mentions, and you don't even think about it as you're reading the stories until you read about it in the New Testament. So you want to hear some of that? You can get one of the small groups. You can still sign up for one of these, I think, online. There's a few places open for that. This is the first time they're trying a trial to do this. And if it goes well, they'll do more of these and have more of these things going maybe in the spring too. So check the website if you want to learn a little bit more about the Old Testament. There'll be good studies for you if you'd like to do it. Okay, here's what happened then back to Elijah. After he left that situation, then he shows up in a cave. And he's very sad. He's given up in what we call a dark night of the soul. A dark night of the soul. Now, I'm usually a pretty upbeat kind of a person. Usually that's true for me, kind of has been. I grew up in a Christian home. Father was a pastor, went to a Christian college, been a pastor for over 50 years. And so this thing is taken pretty seriously to me and Becky about the things that we do in the Christian faith and all that kind of stuff. But in recent days, I went through a period of really some doubts about a lot of stuff. And not so sure about some stuff and some issues that we were going through and stuff. And I didn't sleep real well at night for a few nights either. And I was just kind of sinking a little bit down. Then I realized, this is funny. I'm trying to teach the people this week about depression and how not to have it, and you're in the middle of it right now. What is going on with this? All I can think of is maybe God allowed me to go through some of this to try to get out of it and learn some lessons telling you how I did it, and maybe you can too. But I was kind of, I don't know, I was just not feeling real hot for a while. But I have been trying to work through it. So here's some things then I want to show you. Here's what it says. He went into a cave, and he spent the night in that place. I didn't have a cave. I just crawl up in bed. And behold, the word of the Lord came to him and said to him, look at what God says. I love these lines. What are you doing here, Elijah? I felt like I was laying in bed, and God said, Steve, what are you doing in the bed? So he said, I've been very zealous for the Lord God of hosts and for the children of Israel who've forsaken your covenant, torn down your altars, killed your prophets with the sword. Then he said, I alone am left, and they seek to take my life. I'm the last one. I'm the last of the Mohicans. Hey, the last prophet. He wasn't the last. Because see, when you're depressed, you don't have any way to make true statements mostly. And this was an absolute, I'm sure God heard that and said, you think you're the only one left? I mean, he's just talking out of the top of his head, out of his depression, and seeing if God will listen to him. What are you doing? And I'm alone and left, and they seek to take my life. Now I ask you a question. Does God know exactly what is going on in your thinking every day? The truth is, yes, he does. As a believer, the answer is yes. Did God know where he was? Yes. It's a rhetorical question. When he said, what are you doing here? God knew what he was doing here. Remember Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden? You know, where are you, Adam? You think God couldn't find him? It was like hide and seek, you know? No. God knew exactly where he was. It was a rhetorical question. And that's what's going on here. He's asking this question, knowing full aware where he is. Same idea. So when you get in this kind of a mess, remember this Bible, what the Bible says to do about this. The Bible says there's the God that we serve is the God who sees you, a God who knows all about you. From the beginning to where you are today, He knows your story. He created you in His image, and you become His child if you're a saved person in this room, a man or woman, and here you have been saved for many, many, many years, most of you in this room, some of you recently. But we are children of God, and so He knows your stories, and He sees you. He knows you. And there's a famous verse in the Bible that says this, cast all your cares upon Him because He cares for you. So here's the simple slide that says you are the God who sees me, and I need to cast all my cares upon you. So when I'm depressed, I need to say, wait a minute, I need to get out of this mess that I'm in. I need to pick it up, not quit, get back in right fellowship with you and with other people in my life and make things right. Ask some forgiveness, say we're sorry, deal with some situations, and then get back on the track and keep running the race that God wants you to run. And that's a decision you might have to make. I had to make it this week, and I'm glad I did. We seem to think this, it just kind of all depends on me. Nope. And even though Elijah had lost all his perspective about his role, he had to learn and be still, very much letting God lead him, because he wanted to do a lot more to accomplish with Elijah. He's the God who sees. Okay, so what happened here? Okay, here's what happened. This is going to be his downward spiral. I'm going to list for you 5 things. These are the 5 things that can easily happen that can start the process of depression happening in your life, even as a believer. Absolutely. This can happen to you. To all people, this can come. Here they are. It looks like this. Number 1 is physical, emotional, or spiritual exhaustion. So if you're just physically tired all the time, emotionally you're just drained, spiritual exhaustion, you just don't, I don't need to go to church today. I don't stay home. I don't go that. You know. You can do a lot of things, and that can start leading you down this spiral of a place you don't want to go. The second is unmet expectations, what we just talked about earlier. Learning to lower your expectations so the reality can hit that, and it can be a good thing for you. Not so way up here, you're always disappointed. You're walking around with disappointment all over your life because nobody can ever live up to your expectations. Children, friends, whatever. That can be a trouble. Personal isolation. Just not picking up the phone. Not talking to any friends that you have that are really good friends, dear friends that you have. They call you to try to help you and you don't even answer. They knock on your door and you don't come to the door. Why? Because you just want to be alone. Anytime you find like you just always want to be alone, you need people around you. You need the church of God. You need people in your life that can sense things like this and come alongside, sometimes pull you out of the pit you're in and come alongside and love you and help you. And when you have people and friends that are like that, that's why it's a beautiful thing to be a part of a church group or a small group or a meeting like this, and to have that so that you're not isolated. Some of my own kids are not as active in church as I wish they were. They think, well, you know what? I've been in church all my life. I don't really need that right now. I'm thinking, you don't need that right now? You're going to need it more than you think the older you get. I don't need to go right now. I can't whip my kids into shape now that they're grown adults. I can't tell them, I want you to do this. That doesn't work too well, does it, Becky? When we say, please do this. Oh, yeah? So, if you got issues like that with some kids in your family, we do too. Are we happy about it? No. We're not happy about that. I wish they were more faithful. And so there's some things that all families go through. Isolation. Then destructive thoughts and distorted perspectives. And you know where those come from? Satan, the evil one. It comes from the devil. It comes from him trying to turn you away from what you know is right and true. And he wants you to go down a different path, and that's what he does for you. But here's the thing. God does not leave him there. He doesn't leave him there. Now, I'm going to show you some other people in the Bible that had to overcome depression, characters. Because here's the thing. Whenever you see a story about a Bible person, there's one of two things you ought to respond. I told you this the first week. If they do good things, then here's what you should do. Be like them. Yeah. If they do bad things, don't be like them. And for most characters, they bounce back and forth like this all the time. I can say, be like David. He fought Goliath. You know, he stood up for it. Don't be like him. He got in love with Bathsheba and messed up and had her husband. Don't be like that. I just want to be a David. I'm not so sure I want to be on that side of David, for sure. So all these characters usually have a good side, bad side. The only character in the Bible that seems most like Jesus all the way around is Joseph. The only thing I can call him on, it looks like I don't want to be like Joseph in this regard. Maybe he was a little arrogant talking to his brothers when he was younger. Hey, you guys, let me tell you a dream I had. Man, this is great. You see all these, you are all sheaves of wheat, and I'm in the middle, big old sheaf of wheat, and y'all are just bowing down to me. What do you think of that? Oh, what do we think? Hey, you see those stars up there? Yeah, I'm the biggest one, and all you little stars are bowing down to me. Maybe he was a little arrogant telling them that. That's the only thing I can see wrong in his life. And what's true about Joseph is he always had what I call a right reaction. I'm teaching right now at Jeff Lynch, where I work at my company, to my employees, called Your Reactions Are Showing. You're not responsible for anybody's action towards you of anything they do. You're not responsible at all. But you're always responsible for how you react to them. Now, you know how they did this in the Old Testament? They called it an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. You know what that means? You bad to me, I'm going to do more bad to you, right back at you. Jesus comes on the scene in the Beatitudes and said, love your enemies. What? I don't want to love them. They're the ones that hurt. Love your enemies. So your reactions can often show. Your actions can be good. Your reactions can be bad. Now, here's some characters in the Bible, a few of them. Moses was overwhelmed when here's what he prayed before God. Please kill me here and now. Moses, I'm trying to get you to lead the children of Israel out of Egypt into the promised land. Can you just suck it up and do what I want you to do? Just kill me. I don't want to do this. God used him anyway. So he got out of his depression, and God used him. Jeremiah was broken. Here's what he cried. Cursed be the day I was born. Happy birthday, Jeremiah. No, ain't no birthday good for me. I cursed the day I was born. Jeremiah, you're going to write a 52-chapter book. Start now. When Job was in deep anguish, he asked, why did I not die at birth? He had lost his family. He had lost his wealth, his possessions. Everything he had in life was gone. He had boils on his body. And then he had a wife that said, why don't you just curse God and die? Thank you. My expectation is I think I should. That's what Job said. And then when Elijah was overcome with fear and exhaustion, he said, Lord, I've had enough. Take my life. Just let me go. See, the worst thing that can happen for you as a believer is you can die. In life, that's the worst thing that can happen to you. But when you die as a believer, the best thing about you is when you open up your eyes and you look, you're going to live forever with Jesus in heaven. So that's the good news. I talked to a sweet lady today that's going through some difficult physical things, has gone through some heartbreaks and difficulties and hardships. We talked about this. And when she said it, it reminded me that one day she'll pass away. And when she takes that last breath, that first breath will be in heaven forever with Jesus. And so it's the best day of your life when you die as a Christian, not the worst day. It's worse for everybody else who mourns you and has to go through the processes. But for you, wow, pretty cool. Elijah said, Lord, take my life. I wish you would. The Bible is full of people who fell apart and a God who never abandoned them. That's the beauty of our God. If you're struggling today, remember, your story isn't over. The same God who sustained them is still faithful today. He will sustain you. He will provide for you. He will care for you. He can do this, and He does. So you keep your eyes on that. Even though it doesn't look like it's going to work, it's not going to happen, you're going to be faithful and staying true to Him till you see it happen. Remember, His time is not your time, and His ways are not your ways. When you understand the ways of God, then you can be more patient than if you didn't understand those ways. So here's the story. As we step into the story, it says this. Read this with me out loud. God develops our faith by refusing to give up on us. We often give up on us a lot more than God does. And so even though you're in a depressed area, God can change your heart and change your life. Now, I was reading this week thinking about how could I kind of end this today. And so I thought about this, and I thought about Psalm 91. Psalm 91 is one of the most amazing psalms in the Bible. And let me just tell you a couple things I got out of it this morning looking at this. Psalm 91 has two different things happening and going on in this psalm. The first part is that if you're thanking God for the way He is in your life and how good He is to do A, B, C for me. The second half of it, after verse 13, is what God responds back and saying, I am this, I am this, I am this. So you can kind of see the way that the psalm works like that. And so I'm going to focus on simply one word in it, and I'll just read through some of it here. I don't have it on the screens, but here's what it said. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. It's not really a shadow. That word really means like shade. He will give you shade when the sun is burning down upon your life. Number 2, I will say to the Lord, my refuge and my fortress, my God is in whom I trust. Good one. For He will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His pinions, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and buckler. You will not fear the terror by night, nor the arrow that flies by day, the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the destruction that wastes at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your side and 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only look with your eyes and see the recompense of the wicked, because you have made the Lord your dwelling place. Remember that word, dwelling place. The Most High is my refuge. No evil shall be allowed to befall you. No plague come near you. For He will command His angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. You know, you have guardian angels that follow you. We often don't think about it much, but there are so many testimonies, and you can read a lot of them if you just look and search for these people, of how angelic beings have helped people get out of a jam or stop something from happening that would have killed them and stuff, and how angels have come, and God has His holy angels to do that for His children until it's the time to call you home. But that word dwell is the one that I really wanted to focus on. It's a Hebrew word, maon, M-A-O-N. It means a permanent habitation, a permanent home, a permanent place where you can live in the understanding that God is in my address book, and He lives with me. And my God is here. He's here with me. He's here with me when I go to sleep, when I wake up, when I go about my life daily. He is with me. There's a whole way of this journey that we call life. And we love the dwelling to spend with Him like that. It's not like visiting with God on occasional, but to make Him the permanent address of your life, not just on sunny days, on every day. On the days when things go incredibly well, but when they don't, even if things aren't going well, I'm still going to trust. I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. And when you have that kind of a mindset, you can live the truth of this psalm. And then I'll just read the last few verses of this psalm that says this. And now in verse 13, where God speaks in this situation, here's what he says. You will tread on the lion and the adder and the young lion, the serpent will trample underfoot, because he holds fast to me in love. I will deliver him. I will protect him, because he knows my name. God speaking to you. I will be with him in trouble. That's what God says to you. You in trouble? God's with you. That's cool. I will rescue him. And I love this. I will honor him. He loves his children. Just like you love your children and love to put honor upon your children when they're doing the right things. When you do the right things to please God, he honors you. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. God is going to show you his salvation. He's going to show you what you need to do to get out of that spiral of depression and not linger there or stay any longer. And though it will come to all of us at various times, just don't stay there. Get help, seek counsel, talk to a dear friend, get out of it, work through it, process it any way you need to do so that it doesn't dominate you for many more days or weeks or months. You want to get that off of you as best as you can, casting all your cares upon him. So I take all this stuff that's weighing me down. I cast it on him. He'll carry it for you. And he wants to do that. So here's the song we're going to end with today. This is a song that was written by my son, Aaron Keys. The first night I showed you a song that he had done called Abide. And Aaron had incredible musical talent when he was younger. And I saw him use it for God when he became a worship leader. He was a worship leader in a church I started called Crossroads Community Church, and he was a Furman student. And so at Furman, he would have worship at night with some of the students there. When he came after he graduated, I said, help pay your way through college if you'll lead worship for me at my school that we were doing church. And he said he would. And so he did that and led worship, and he was so good leading worship at our church. Becky and I looked at each other and said, some big church is going to jerk him out of here faster than we can probably realize. One day he came to us and said, well, Mom and Dad, there's this church in Atlanta. They have about 15,000 people that attend there, and they've asked me to come there and be their music worship leader. What did you say, Becky? Becky said no. I thought no. She said it. He said, Mom, he said, I believe God wants me to do that. That's the trump card. When you play that trump card, God said go. Then Becky had to learn, zip that lip. I had to learn, let him go. So he went to Atlanta and was at Grace Church for many years. And he ended up going to Colorado Springs to New Life Christian Fellowship out there in Colorado. It's a large church, and to see him leading worship there, we've been out there a few times, it's just amazing to see. He's written a lot of songs, started writing them when he was young, and the most probably well-known song he ever wrote is called Sovereign Over Us. Hello. Sovereign Over Us was done by Michael W. Smith and Chris Tomlin and some other people too did this song. And so when Aaron first wrote that song, I thought, now that is a powerful song. Because the idea of being sovereign means that God is in control, looking over your life and soul, and he can lead and guide you where he wants you to be. And sometimes it's not a place necessarily you think you'll end up, but sometimes it is. But it's interesting because of his love and care. But the favorite lines about depression are in this song that I'm going to show you called Sovereign Over Us. Here's what he says. He starts out, says, there is strength within the sorrow. How can we have sorrow in our lives? All kinds of reasons. Health issues, death of people, terrible, getting fired from a job, not having enough money. There's all kinds of things that can happen to us to have sorrow. He says there's beauty in our tears. God says he puts your tears in a bottle. As weird as that sounds, that he knows when we have our tears. Aaron wrote, you meet us in our mourning when we mourn over tough situations. He says, with a love that casts out fear. Those are all depression words. And then he says this, your plans are still to prosper. You have not forgotten us. You're with us in the fire and the flood. You're faithful forever, perfect in love. You're sovereign over us. And when Aaron first wrote that song, he showed me those words, and I said, wow. I said, those words are pretty cool. I think that's going to be a good song for you. And sure enough, if I look on YouTube today, and I can scroll down with 50 or 60 different YouTubes of people all over the world singing this little song, I'm thinking, Aaron wrote that, and they're singing that all over the place. They're butchering it, and often in different ways. I watch them sing it, and think, oh, God. So I'm just going to show you just the words on the screen song, not a picture of him doing it, because the group he worked with put this out, and it was in an album he put out called Dwell. And when I realized the word dwell, I said, well, that's the word I'm reading today. To dwell, mayon, is habitation, permanent place with God every day, making the right choices, moving forward. And so as I saw that talking about dwelling, I said, that's also one of the reasons he told me he wrote the song. And that was the name of the whole album he put out. So I'll show you this song, and then after that, I'll have a couple of final things that we'll do, and we'll let it go. So Tim, if you turn the light out back there. Is anybody here about the volume back here? Oh, you got me? Okay, good. I'm going to turn this off because this has to go off.
There's strength within sorrow. There's beauty in our tears. When you meet us in our mourning with a love that casts out fear, you are working in our waiting, sanctifying us. When beyond our understanding, you're teaching us to trust. Your plans are still to prosper. You've not forgotten us. You're with us in the fire and the flood. Faithful forever, perfect in love. You are sovereign over us. You are wisdom unimagined. Who could understand your ways? Reigning high above the heavens, reaching down in endless grace. You're the lifter of the lowly, compassionate and kind. You surround and you uphold me, and your promises are my delight. Your plans are still to prosper. You've not forgotten us. You're with us in the fire and the flood. Faithful forever, perfect in love. You are sovereign over us. Even what the enemy means for evil, you turn it for our good. You turn it for our good and for your glory. Even in the valley, you are faithful. us in the fire and the flood. Faithful forever, perfect in love. You are sovereign over us. Faithful forever, perfect in love. You are sovereign over us.
that other church we started. I'm going to trust God. Well, thank you. Yes.
You're gonna pick up Elijah again next week and keep on going through this.
There's just 2 more weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you gonna still hook up on this.
Yes. I'll be teaching more about this in the next few weeks.
Like we were talking, I didn't remember him running beside a chariot for 29 miles.
I know it.
You know, and
As supernatural, God helped him do that.
yeah.
And here's the deal. He's going to eat 2 meals, 2 complete full meals, and then he's not going to eat again for 40 days. He lasted 40 days fasting after 2 supernatural meals God's going to feed him. Sometimes and then he also told him just rest. And so here's the interesting, I say sometimes there's 2 things spiritual you can do. You can eat a snack, take a nap. If you do it, that can be a spiritual thing. If you're eating a snack and you take a nap, because God can clear your thoughts, He can cause you to wake up again. When I was not doing so hot and all this stuff, after I slept a couple of days, I felt better. I went back to sleep, didn't wake up all night long, felt better about the whole shebang. After I ate a little bit and rested, then I think I got out of my dark night of the soul. But I had to do those things. I didn't have to run 29 miles either. So that's what he had to do. That's a wild story, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not a good reader, you know, and I have problems deciphering things.
Yeah.
And I've never been I guess I haven't read enough. I guess I'm busy doing everything else.
Well, that's okay.
You know,
That's all right.
It's just hard for me to
Yeah.
be able
To process it.
talking.
Yeah.
You read something and get one way up. I
Yeah.
read it, I have no idea.
Of what's going on. Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Well, do the visuals help you and the stuff like I'm showing help you understand the story a little bit more? I do that because to me it helps people better understand it. I gotta close this down. I'll be right back.
Well, they're over cleaning up the state. Good job.
Thank you. Let me get better. Down now. Let's all say the words we always say as we end the service. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight. O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. We'll see y'all next week. Thanks for coming. Welcome. You're welcome. Thank you. Good to see you, Warren.